Hi, here are the instructions for the DIY menstrual pads that we made at the Global Action Summit in June 2017. This video shows the process starting after the pieces are all cut out and through the final product. The first step is to sew the main pieces together. These are the cutouts from template A that have been matched right sides together. This means that the right or nice side of the fabric is facing the nice side of the second piece of fabric. This step is best done using a sewing machine, but can be done by hand. I've only provided the instructions for doing this step using a machine, but the instructions for hand stitching shown later can be applied using the same instructions. The stitching would be the same as for using a machine for any creation, except that you are using pivot corners to make the seam continuous. This pivot corner is done by stopping the needle halfway through a stitch so that the fabric is caught on the needle and then lifting the presser foot off of the fabric and turning the fabric to the desired point. For the entire body of the pad, continuously stitch the edge of the fabric pieces together as shown, keeping about a ½ inch area between the line of stitches and the edge of the fabric. This is not especially important, but the pad will turn out better if done using this technique. Stop stitching when you reach parallel to the starting stitches on the same end of the pad. This leaves an opening where the stuffer pieces can be placed into the pad and the pad can be turned right side out. This is what your pad should look like at this point. Take 3 to 5 pieces of your stuffer fabric and hold alongside the main body. Hold the main body and stuffer pieces with the opening to the main body pointing away from you. Next, begin turning the main body right side out while manipulating the stuffer pieces so that they go inside the main body. Once the main body is right side out and the stuffer pieces are inside, adjust location of the stuffer pieces by manipulating from the outside or shaking the pad to move the stuffers into position. Then using pins if available, close the main body by rounding the opening to approximate the curve of the opposite end. This doesn't have to be perfect, you can clean up the curve later by trimming around. For the next step, you have 2 options. You can use a sewing machine or sew the opening closed by hand. At the summit, you learned how to close it by hand, so first I'll show you how to use the machine. To use the machine, place the pinned line on the platform and place the foot on top. Then begin stitching the same as you did for the opposite end by using the pivot corner to keep the stitching continuous. Next, on to the hand sewing method. Begin by threading the needle with about 1 yard of thread. This will be more than enough for this step, but you will use it later. Pull the thread halfway through and tie the 2 opposite ends together about 1 inch from the end of the thread. The stitch that will be easiest to use is a running stitch. Start at one side of the opening by putting the threaded needle through the fabric layers from top to bottom. Then push it through the bottom to the top, coming back through about 1/4 of an inch away from the original insertion. Pull the needle and thread completely through the fabric and repeat. Continue this around the opening, staying about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric at all times. When you have completely closed the opening, repeat the stitch going the opposite direction until you have reached the point that you originally started out. Make sure that you are going down through the fabric where you had previously gone up and going up through the fabric where you had previously gone down. When you've completed this round, tie the start and end together and then cut the thread. You have now completely closed the pad, and all you have left is to sew on the snaps. Sew on the snaps by taking 1/2 of the set and sewing it onto one of the wings of the pad. This can be done in several ways. I'm showing the simplest method of attaching them by sewing directly between the holes in the snap exterior. Once this is finished, repeat on the opposite side, but make sure that the snap is also on the opposite side of the wing, so that only one snap can be seen when the pad is viewed on each side.